Welcome to the Cyber Business Podcast, where we feature top founders and entrepreneurs and share their inspiring stories. Now, let's get started with the show.
Matthew Connor here, host of the Cyber Business Podcast. Today, we're joined by James Brookens, CIO at Peterson Cheese. James, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Before we get too far in, a quick word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. Do you know if a hacker's in your system? Most people and most companies don't until it's too late and the hacker's already done damage. A hacker's job is to bypass your security, so companies need a way of knowing when someone's gotten past theirs. That's where Cyberlinks comes in. We've partnered with the best cybersecurity companies in the world to be able to provide our clients with the best solutions at the best prices. So whether it's managed SIM, SOC, EDR, MDR, XDR, you name it, we'll help you find the best solution at the best price. Find out more at cyberlinks.com. That's cyberlynx.com. And now back to our show. James, for those who aren't familiar, can you tell us about Peterson Cheese and your role there as CIO?
Sure. Yeah, Peterson Cheese is an importer and distributor of specialty foods and a strategic growth partner with manufacturers and retailers. And my role there, I've been there for 20 years this month, and it has been a fun ride, let me tell you. So I have pretty much every bit of technology this company has, I implemented it or I oversaw the implementation of it. So I have a lot of different stories about different angles. We have two warehouses because we're an importer. We have a warehouse in Winooki, New Jersey. And then we LTL a lot of product over to Washington State, where we have daily deliveries from Everett down to Northern Oregon.
Very cool. Well, you're being so new in your role. I won't grill you on, on anything there. But I do think that's pretty interesting. A lot of times, people don't end up spending quite so long at a place. So I think the fun part there is how many different projects you've implemented and changes you've seen. So kind of want to dive in a little bit into, I think because in today's day and age, people tend to move jobs so frequently. It's the way to get promoted. It's the way to get better pay. You name it. Career progression is now hopping between companies, and so for you to kind of spent 20 years in one company, can you walk us through some of that? Kind of the benefits and the why of it versus kind of the typical today path that people take.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that really, it keeps me happy and just I get to do a lot of different things with a lot of different areas with a lot of big companies. You're a cog in the wheel. You have guardrails like don't step out of this, don't do that. Another team handles that. I really have always had fun just wearing all the different hats and doing many different things and being a part of projects and change management for, with all aspects. And it's just been, something that has been fun for me. And I love the technical side of things, but I also like the people side. And that's a big thing for me is just helping people through change is something that I just come to really like.
Love it. It makes perfect sense. And I think with all of the changes, over the years and now today, I think the big thing obviously for everybody now is AI. And so, how is that playing a part in what you guys are doing there?
Yeah, AI is big. Obviously, it's a marketing term that every salesperson likes to use these days, whether they actually have real Gen AI or not. And I like to learn. I've always loved to learn and all new technologies ever since I was 10 years old with my first 8088 computer at home. I've always loved to just learn. And AI for me is just like yes, it's just been so much fun, and I've played with GPT since it got released, and I just attended conferences and just try to figure out and understand not only how to use it as just personally, but how to implement it at my work to gain real efficiencies.
Yeah. So where do you see it kind of playing out for you guys? And would you say you're in the crawl stage, or you guys walking, running? Where are you at currently?
So currently, I have in April deployed a GenAI chatbot for my salespeople specifically that has over 5,000 items and 60 attributes for those items that you can ask. And in addition, it'll auto create a spec sheet on demand in like 30 seconds, a PDF format that can be emailed to a customer. Or just, you basically with one prompt, with one voice prompt, you can say, create a spec sheet for this item or groups of items. And I want this, email it to this customer, and this will be the subject and this will be the body. That flexibility is there. Right now, I'm working on enhancing it and adding more attributes and just working that change management cycle, because it's the technology side a lot of times is easier than the change management cycle. So, it's like, okay, I got this tool and now I'm like educating and trying to get everybody to use it. That's kind of where I'm at in my process.
Yeah, that's tough, right? I mean, technology advances and people not so much. So, is that obviously that's a challenge for everybody. I don't know how you overcome that other than kind of continuing to push it out. Are you facing real resistance, or is it one of these things where it's just kind of the natural, like, we've always done it this way. Do we have to start doing it a new way?
Yeah, we're human beings after all, and that's
Yeah.
a good thing. We're not robots, so you can't just program people like you can program computers. And
Yeah.
that's my thing. A lot of times the technology side is so much easier than the people side, but it's just a matter of proving to them that I can help you save X amount of time per day. Like, okay, like just sitting down with them. You got to do multiple things. You got to talk about it in groups. You got to talk about it like in your SME teams to get the SMEs to talk to the groups. You gotta, push it forward, attend meetings and just promote it. Keep it up, send emails. I try to send emails with like, hey, I've added these attributes to keep it in their attention. And just, when I have one-on-ones with people, just be like, hey, so by the way, did you try this out yet?
Yeah.
And what was your thoughts? And then I take that input and I make it better.
So curious, I mean, with your chatbot, are you seeing, is this real, like, is this a Gen AI chatbot? And well, let me ask you that. This is using Gen AI?
Yes, it is using Gen AI.
And when it generates, the spec sheets, is there any sort of hallucinations, or has it just been rock solid?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yeah, it strictly uses RAG. So it's very, very strict. And especially with the spec sheets, it's a more of a one-to-one. It's like this field in the database maps to this field in the PDF template. It's really a Word template, but it gets converted to a PDF.
Yeah.
And so there is zero hallucinations when it creates the spec sheet, and I had to make sure of that. So you,
Great.
you just let it have its own way. Any like you can't you know, change the ingredients for an item because that could like cause, like allergy issues or, at the worst, of course, and then you just can't have that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of crazy. So where do you see AI taking you guys in the future? What's in store for you guys moving forward with AI?
Yeah. Well, I'm working on leveraging AI for multiple departments, you know, um, looking at, potentially like um, be more efficient overall, without
Yeah,
pinpointing the specific project I'm working on. I have a few things in the mix that is too early to talk about, but
sure.
I'm just basically I'm meeting one-on-one with all the departments, and like there's avenues in accounting, there's avenues in purchasing to help with their efficiencies, and a lot of times it really just takes that one-on-one conversation, where you can break down the walls and just be like, hey man, I'm here to help you. This is what it can do. What do you do now? And asking the right questions, in the right way, at the right time, you can, get some really good answers. And it's like, wait a minute, are you serious? You've been doing this for how many years now? Like you do this report and get this other report, and then you talk to, like you have to, like, why not just put it all into one, or even like have a Gen AI answer? But a lot of times when I meet with people about Gen AI solutions, it ends up being a business intelligence answer or a reporting answer. So it's more of just kind of figuring out what the right solution for the problem is. People are like, oh, I have this real problem and I want you to solve it with a Gen AI. I'm like, that's not a Gen A solve,
Yeah.
answer. That's a business intelligence answer, for reporting wise.
Yeah, no, it becomes, I think a lot of people see it as kind of a panacea to cure any ailment. And okay. Maybe one day, sure, but today, there are other solutions probably for that that are not, as you said,
Yeah.
like business intelligence. Boom, here's what or this was the process. We can really improve this process a lot without having to bring, AI into the mix. Which, yeah. So a lot of time, but I think it's been good to open up those conversations, though, right? I mean, it's sparked it more than in the past. I don't want to say things kind of stagnated, but people, because they're humans, they like their processes and they were good with it. There was no pain, even if there was a pain point. They didn't seek out help for this very inefficient process that they may have created in their work. So they may have, they take it from this spreadsheet and they drop it in this one, and then they put in this, and then they create this report, and then they send it off like, okay, and you spent hours every day doing that. Totally cool, fine. But, we could have automated that, and you push a button and, turn that into a, 1, 2 minute thing instead of hours. But you didn't have there wasn't a call for that. You had to, and who goes and seeks that out? Be like, hey, is there anything you're doing that's not efficient? What are you trying to get me fired? No, I'm working my ass off here. What are you talking about? I'm very efficient. I have to take this spreadsheet and take stuff out of here and put it in this spreadsheet and put it
Right.
in here and then create this. We're inefficient. What are you talking about? So now I think it's been really good in that regard. And are you? And I know you kind of answered it, but I mean, is what percentage would you say you're finding are just those efficiency things versus an AI thing?
Oh boy. Yeah, I would say that when I have teams come to a table in a meeting and we talk about problems, it lands probably about a third is Gen AI. Real like when they're like, "Oh, I want you to solve these problems with Gen AI." Like two-thirds is like, another third is business intelligence, another third is just changing a procedure. And a big part of it is really dismissing fear too, to get them to come to the
Yeah.
table. And we're at the table, then they're still fearful. They're like, "Man, what are you trying to do? You trying to replace me, or are you trying to you know, you like figure out, it's like, no, what I'm trying to do is empower you to give you more time to help the company and everybody be more efficient, and that's dismissing the fear around it is a big part, like it's just like people really, a lot of the stuff's out there and it's people write the articles and they're very fearful, like your employees, everybody's going to replace you. I get emails all the time like, hey, do you want to replace employees? It's like they're missing it.
Yeah.
It's about empowering people and giving them the right tools. Like I have developers and I'm like, you need to use AI, like please, I want you to be more efficient. It's like it's not going to replace you. It's a tool for you to be more efficient.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's a shame that there are so many of these, I don't know, sky is falling type of shock journalists, and a lot of them, they're not even journalists, they're just shock jocks, just people trying to get views. And okay, I get it, the world is all about attention now, and trying to be, get in front of as many eyeballs as you can. And when you say something, outlandish or scary, it gets more attention. But the reality is, uh, that's not going to happen anytime soon. I mean, if it ever even happens, and I'm in the school of, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that what we're looking at is just like any other technology as it comes up, it is going to replace, it is going to, let's take the old phone operators who were, unplugging and plugging things in. Cool, great job. That's a silly job today,
Yeah.
right? Just ludicrous. Nobody wants it. But back in the day, that was a great job to have, and people wanted it. And then technology came and made that, uh, redundant. It's just not needed anymore. So it's silly to hold on to that. The same is true today. But for most of the jobs that we have today, they're not going to be just completely replaced. It may fully augment, some jobs will be completely replaced, sure. But I think that's a small percentage. Most jobs are going to be supercharged, I think. And then, we haven't seen one technology ever that just completely replaces humans. And the general artificial intelligence, if that day ever even comes, I'm I still think that doesn't, while that may replace most jobs in the traditional sense, I think it creates a new revolution, like a new kind of um, renaissance where people are you value the singers, the actors, the musicians, the artists. What you want to see, you're not going to want to see a robot playing Shakespeare.
Oh,
It's ludicrous. Who's
yeah.
going to, and you don't want to, even if AI can generate, even crazier movies, I still want to see Tom Cruise hanging from a plane. I don't want to see it AI'd. Like it doesn't make, who cares? The cool
I
part
had,
is he's 60 years old hanging from the side of a plane, and most people can barely get their asses onto a plane without getting injured, right? And so that's the impressive part. And so I think we're going to see people really start to appreciate the arts and artisans so much more. And it's funny because you look at like these influencers. Rewind 5, 10 years ago, and it was like, dude, you can't grow up and be an influencer. That's stupid, right? That's
yeah.
dumb. And now it's like, well, they make so much money if you can get it. And it's not like there's a shortage of them, or there's plenty of people looking and flipping through their phones, and these people are making an absolute killing. So now it's kind of silly to say, oh, don't, I mean, still, I don't want to, it's not like you're going to tell your kids grow up and be an influencer, right? Like, but yeah, that's like going back and telling your kid they should be an actor. Like, the odds are not great, or be a professional ball player. Okay. The odds are not great, but if that is what you love and you're naturally gifted at it, sure. Anyway, I'm right there with you on the doom and gloom. It's going to take, they're going to take our jobs kind of thing. I don't see it. And I think it's irresponsible for people to be preaching it because that's not in our foreseeable future. But what do you think?
My focus is empowering employees to be more efficient. Like I started out with the salespeople. What happens if can save a salesperson a half an hour a day? That's another, how many sales can they get from that?
Yep.
That gives them more commission, that gives the company more profit. Everybody's happy. And that's my focus.
Yep. That is so much better. And at no point, I don't know, let's just, do a little thought experiment, with the salesperson. You move forward to Gen AI. Will, on a sales call, will you ever be like, oh, yes, I want to talk to, the Gen AI salesperson?
Right. Yeah.
I don't think I do. I don't care. Like, if it's going to feel like a waste of my time. If
Yeah.
it's if it's getting information, sure. But I don't know on the sales side. Like, then you just become this nameless, faceless. If it's like going to McDonald's and having or going to a fancy restaurant and having it served by robots, or just like automatically pops up on your table, comes through some conveyor belt up through the top. Who wants that? We're not like cattle at the trough. You want to go and have a nice experience. And I think the same is true of sales. We're still humans. We like humans. The technology is cool because it lets us have this amazing life that we have now. I mean, look at this. We're not even in the same area. And here we are face to face having a conversation that, other people are going to watch on some device. It's crazy. You push a button and food arrives at your door. What? This
Right.
is nuts. Air conditioning, like it's always the same temperature in the office and at home. What? Cars drive themselves now. This is crazy. We
Yeah.
live in the most incredible time. And yet, it's still about people because we're humans. I don't see AI replacing that human interaction and becoming just AI corporations. I don't know. Will we see a $1 billion AI company that's run by one or just a handful of people? For sure. Yeah, that's going to happen. Does that mean that's the future of companies? Hell no. I think that's ridiculous. Um, but again, this isn't my show. I'm supposed to be asking you questions, and now I'm just going off on my little tirade. Um, but what do you think? Am I delusional? Is that like just me wishful thinking?
I definitely would say it's a hot topic. And, there's some people who are just going for clicks and they don't care about what they're really doing and impacting people. And it's like one of the things I try to do is just get rid of the fear element. And when people realize that, like, hey, I'm here to help you and empower you and not try to take your job away or your employees away, and that really goes a long ways. And just communicating what the end goal is important. there's a lot of AI projects that are happening that really just dismiss the human element. There's a lot of,
Yeah.
steps in the process that everybody's using at large companies right now. And they're focusing on ROIs. They're focusing on when am I going to start making my money off of this? And they're treating people like robots. So we're not robots, we're human beings. And that's one of the big things that a lot of AI projects fail is because they don't take into account the human element and the need to like talk to people and bring them along with you on this journey. And they just like leave the people behind. Oh, we'll catch them up at the end when we tell them what to do. It's like that's one of my, I'm really passionate about that. And just I've really tried to do that the best in my employment at Peterson Cheese. And I've, been able to speak on a panel and just that was my message. It's like, don't forget about the people, bring the people along with you, get buy-in, use the proper change management cycle and listen to them. I mean, like if you're really trying to help them be more efficient, you got to listen. And a lot of people are just like, oh, I made a decision and here's what we're doing, and we're just going to tell them to do it, and we'll find somebody else if they don't like to do it. It's like I don't think that's the right way.
No, I think you nailed it, and I think that's just proper leadership, right? And it's managing your people's their fears, their expectations, their desires, their everything, and getting them to want to achieve the team's goals, whatever those may be. Anything short of that is just poor leadership, and that's just the reality of it. And I think technology is so cool that it does inspire people to be like, oh, look at this cool thing, and just throw it in there, and then be like, oh, and by the way, this is how you use that. Like, come on, that's not how it's done. I mean, it's an organization is nothing without its people, and I think that will be true for a long time. And ultimately, probably forever, because, barring some weird sci-fi, kind of world where everything is run by AI, which is it's not even appealing. The whole idea of it's not appealing. And if the masses, if it's not appealing for the masses, it's just not gonna work, right? So I'm right there with you. And let's talk more about that human element, right? And the getting people in, and leading them, because I do think that is a weak spot for a lot of people, especially in and around the tech industry. I think people, rise, to levels, and they shine when they're good with people. And, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, technology tends to attract people who love technology, and they might not love people as much as they love technology. So, what kind of tips and tricks and advice do you have for people, when it comes to kind of valuing people over the technology and kind of implementing it properly?
The best thing is just, listen, create those, safe environments where they can talk and they can be open about what their fear is and what their stumbling blocks are. Like trust the system. It's like, well, what if I trust it and then something bad happens and now I might be fired? And it's like, listen, we know we're asking you to trust the system. When you trust the system, it's okay to have a mistake happen. It's like let the system do what we're trying to have it do for automation. That we try to help people be more efficient. In some areas, and there really is like there was just one meeting. I'm not going to go into too much specifics, but went around and it's like it was fear, literal fear was coming out of their mouth. It's like, but if I trust it and it makes a mistake, then I'm reliable. I'm responsible for that.
Yeah.
And in the day, it's like, well, we're asking you to do this, and we understand. I'm listening to you, and we hear you, and it'll be okay, and we'll work through it together. And it's not just going to fall on you. It's just scenarios like that. It is very important to have that open communication. And not every IT leader is meant to or should be put in roles where they have to work with people, because a lot of people just not everybody likes to do that. It's just we're born a certain way, right?
Yep.
And there's some people who have just been overlooked and they have potential, and there's other people who are just they just they should probably just stay where they're at and not try to get into roles that are more demanding where you do have to interact with people and you do have to communicate well and, dispel the fear and all these kind of things. We're a human being at the end of the day, and that means that we're not cookie cutters, we're not robots. You can't program us, and you got to understand and, glean who is this person? What are they capable of as a manager, as a leader? And where can I go with this person? What values, desires do they have? And how can I help them accomplish those? I believe in active mentorship. And everybody that I mentor, we have a different path. I don't do a cookie cutter mentorship. I figure out who is this person? What are their desires? What do they want? How can I help you be successful? I ask them. And, it's like at the end of the day, if I help them be successful, then that helps me and it helps my team and it helps the company and it helps the other teams. So, just understanding, you know, it's really rough. It's a hard lesson to learn that not anybody can become anybody. Not everybody can become everybody. And there's certain people that are pushed into roles where they're not comfortable or, they don't communicate well. And it's fine. It's good to learn your boundaries, but just know what to do about that. And you know what I mean? It's like you can pivot and you can have different angles. It's really rough because it's really hard to put it in a few sentences, what I'm trying to convey, but it is something that, you just gotta everybody's individual, and that's what's awesome about us being human beings because we all have talents, we all have something that we do really good at, and it's finding that is a fun journey in life, I would say.
Well, I mean, I totally agree. And I think one of the interesting things you kind of, hinted at it and talked about it a little bit was when people are promoted beyond their point of, comfort, let's say, and not necessarily, competence, but sadly, somebody can be very technically proficient in whatever field, technology or otherwise, and because they're doing such a good job, the reward is a promotion. Great. At some point, those technical promotions then become managerial promotions, and not everybody who's, a great at technology is necessarily, fit, cut out for management. And so I, I think that's a tough one, right? And I think that maybe those are it's on the leadership to see that and be like, look, you're amazing at this. You know, our, yeah, this I don't, we want to reward you, but is management really the right next step for you? And when there is a misstep, what do you do about that? You can't you promote somebody and then put them back, right? Then how do they feel about that? I think navigating that is challenging. And I think far too often people don't take a very open and honest, they don't have an open and honest dialogue about it. And so people get promoted, unfortunately too far. And then they're not happy. The people they're managing aren't happy. It's not successful. And instead of being able to just discuss that and say, we'd like to keep you, we'd like to, how do we promote you technically, or how do we reward your technical achievements and your without putting you in that management role, right? And maybe it's just some companies, maybe it's just some people. I don't know. That seems to be something that's a bit of an issue that you've had to deal with. So I'm gonna ask you, what's your take on this, and how do you deal with that?
Just high level, if you have someone say, hey, I want to do more, I want to increase in salary per se, right? And it's like, well, if you want that, then you got to do this. I mean, that's it's like maybe they're capped out, maybe there's other scenarios, and then they're like full hearted, they're like, yes, I want to do that, I'm in. And that's where you got to kick in as a leader and a manager. Number one, you get to, are they capable? Even if they say they want it, you have to glean, are they capable? And that's hard. And that's where you gotta like, just kind of hold in your thoughts to them and be like, you know, this is something that we can talk about. But maybe there's some other steps needed before this happens. And then if that person does end up going into that role and not meeting the needs, it's even harder because now that means more work for you as a leader and mentor to help them through this thing that you allowed them through the gate. So I don't believe in just like, oh, you did it, you screwed up, let the hammer fall. It's like, no, I let you through that gate, or someone else let you through that gate, and now you need to follow up, and now you need to mentor them, and do whatever it takes per se, in the realm of managing to help them through, to help them get through it.
I like that. So now it really becomes more about proper leadership and mentorship and say and having that open discussion with them that look, managing is going to be different. And and then when they get up there, yeah, I can do it, I can do it. And then when they flounder or they're struggling with it, that you as the leader step in and really help them. Because I think if you take kind of ownership of that promotion for that person, like as you said, you vouched for them, you said okay, you blessed off on it. Now it's on you to make sure it's a success. It's your project. Yeah, right. So,
Yeah.
and I don't think you see that enough. I think that's one of those things that falls short and people are like, well, they promoted Jimmy and Jimmy just screwed the pooch. He's not a good manager. So now we're gonna have to let Jimmy go because he's pissing everybody off and people are threatening to quit because they're unhappy because Jimmy's turns out Jimmy's a tyrant when when he's in charge, right? Whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But instead of, oh, whoops, that's on me for promoting Jimmy. I need to make sure that Jimmy's, successful in this new promotion.
Absolutely. If somebody is floundering and they're not being successful in the role you put them in, that's on you.
Yeah.
Because you put them in that role. You allow that to happen. It's on you to a degree, but my biggest thing is just don't give up on people. We are people, we are human beings, treat us like human beings and work with us. And like there's a lot of times where yeah, somebody might take a little bit of help, right? The person that has the aptitude, but they're struggling to get over that step. And if when you help them and you give them that mentorship and then they excel, that's awesome. Then you're like, yes, we did it together. And it feels so accomplishing.
Yeah. I think that is such a fantastic lesson. And I couldn't think of a better, point to kind of cap it off with. I think that's fantastic. James, thanks so much for coming on, sharing your insights and your wisdom with us. I think it was fantastic. But before we go, can you tell everybody where they can find out more about you and more about Peterson Cheese?
PetersonCheese.com for the website. And I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, I'm sure there's some links somewhere around here and on the link that we're
It'll
promoting.
be down below all around.
Yeah,
Well,
there you go. Like up there, up right. And but yeah, I appreciate the time. Thanks for giving me allowed me to have my voice heard, and I really appreciate that. And it's just at the end of the day, we're people, and it's we gotta handle that as managers, as leaders, and as employees. At the end of the day, we are all just people, and we're not going to be replaced by a team of robots. And we do matter, and we are important.
well said. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Cyber Business Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.